So the app we're building today is a simple desktop clock, and the problem that we are solving is the idea that an iPhone isn't used on the desktop or on a desk itself when it's not in use. So if a person comes to work, sits down at their desk, the phone sits in the pocket, which is a very underutilized, very expensive device. So the problem that we're going to solve is a way of using that device to provide extra information and hopefully make the person at their desk more productive. So as we're very, very new to Xcode, we're going to go right from the start, and most likely you have this welcome screen in front of you. So on the left is a new Xcode project. This is where we're going to go 99% of the time. Below that is an existing project, but we're not going to stress about that. We pretty much won't use that at all. And we can also open an existing project. However, these are usually shown on the right panel as our recently opened. So if you're looking for something you've recently opened, here is your best spot rather than opening an entire project. So Xcode project. And we're going to make an iPhone application, which is iOS. Now this will cover iPad as well, but we're obviously not going down that pathway. And you can also do a Catalyst app, which will do iPhone, iPad, and Mac all in the one set of code. There is some issues there, obviously, with user interface and the size, but we won't be covering that today. The other two are macOS and watchOS. Now, again, these are just for those particular devices. I grouped them together because you can interact with those pretty easily through tapping or clicking. tvOS is the Apple TV, but that one has probably less interactivity with a user, and is used for either displaying information or perhaps playing movies, most likely because it's a TV OS. So I'm going to start with app and give it a name. In your organizational identifier, com is all you need to do. I've got a little extra in there, but you just need to put the word com, and that'll be just fine. You can see it's com.desktopclock. Our language is SwiftUI. If you don't have that, please make sure you tick that box. Our language is definitely Swift. Please tick that. And untick core data if it is actually ticked. Okay, so we do want core data, and include tests. Well, that's up to you. It can be ticked, it can be not, it won't matter. Next. So we see a spot for this clock. Now I've got my apps folder, and you should have one also. So if you're a new student, you probably want a digital technologies folder followed by a apps folder. And that way you can throw all your code into one area, easy to find. You can see I've already built one of these before, so I'll just replace that one. Right, so it's always best to work in full screen. So we maximize. I like removing the top right section, so I'm going to hide this here with this button. Like on the left, I can hide this one as well, but I kind of want this just in case I want to access my files. That right panel probably won't be used in anything that we do. I'm going to slightly move the preview pane across and hit resume, because I like getting a bit of screen real estate. I'm also one who, because I'm doing this on a video, will increase the size of the font. Command plus will increase the size of the font, and that'll do. So here I've got my code, which is a struct content view based on the SwiftUI language. This code down the bottom is for the preview on the right hand side, which is still loading up. And this won't be ever touched. So you can even click on line 16, give it a bit of space so you won't touch it again. Now the struct content view is essentially what's called like a home page or a home screen. You can change which struct is the home screen, but we won't be worrying about that. And to start with, I quite like bringing down my squiggly brackets. So I'm going to put my cursor in front of the squiggly black bracket on line 10 and hit enter. I'm going to do the same on line 12 now, in front of this squiggly bracket and hit enter. I'm not going to make another one, I just want to line these brackets up so they can easily be seen. Now I can see where my content view starts and it lights up in yellow where the content view ends. And I have the body. Where it lights up is where it ends, and my cursor is where it begins. Now SwiftUI and Xcode work wonderfully well together, and I can easily change this to be 1:46 p.m. We'll hit resume. And that's now the time. If I add in a space, you may even see it live updating, which is just great. This is what's called an object. In this case, it's a view object. The body is also a view, as is the content view. So these are all views and view objects. The text is the name of the object. The brackets is the information that is required for that view to work. In this case, it needs speech marks and some sort of string inside of it. So a string is text, and here I can put inside there speech marks 1:46 p.m. After this is a modifier. So you can see dot padding. Now I can bring this up to this line here and nothing changes. I can add another one. Dot font dot title, and that'll work just fine. However, as you can see, as this grows bigger, it'll be harder to read. Hence why we bring it down and we place all of our dots under each other. To get this nice lining up of text and brackets, use Tab on your keyboard to move it in, and obviously backspace to move it back. Xcode generally knows where you want it to go and will line them up. You can see I'm all the way to the left. One hit the tab and I'm back to where it should be. So that's all done. Next, we're going to do a stack. So stacks are containers that tell the program where to place things. So the first type of stack we're going to learn about is a VStack. Now, to decipher what that means, the word stack means to put things on top of each other. That's how we usually stack canned goods or whatever it may be, boxes perhaps. In this case, we got a VStack, which means I'm stacking them vertically. Now you can see I've got this error, don't panic. All VStacks need a squiggly bracket, and I always hit enter straight away, so it closes that squiggly bracket. Now you can see here I've actually got two screens now. One is for the VStack, one is for the text view. To bring them back into one app, I'm going to cut out my text and paste it between the brackets. Next, I'm going to do text 14 Feb 2022. And you can see that places it underneath in a different size font, the default size, because this font is title size. Now I'm going to remove the padding in this case just to demonstrate something. You can see it still works, but you can see how it is very tight together. That's what padding does. It creates space around the text. Now inside VStack, I can actually modify that. Spacing 10. So that's spacing between each of the views. And if I was to put another view in, you can see it's again going underneath with 10 spacing. Increased, increased. Padding, on the other hand, will put space around the entirety of the view. You can see it's from left and right, above and below. And now we can move on to our second type of stack. So let's remove that padding. Next is a HStack. As you can see, H stands for horizontal, placing all our views across the screen. Finally, ZStack. Oh, I can't have spacing in a ZStack because, as you can see, ZStack layers things on top of each other. So they're placed on top one after the other, starting with this text here, puts it on the screen. That will go on top, and that will go on top again. So we've created a few types of stacks now. I'm going to bring this back to a VStack. We can also embed stacks within stacks. So inside my VStack, I can do a HStack and place my two sets of text inside the HStack. As you can see, text first on the left, my name on the right. All the previous properties can be added, but can also be added to the entire group. So I'm going to do .font.headline. And you can see everything inside of the HStack turns into headline, or I can do it singly, and only the one becomes headline. So these modifiers are really quite simple. For instance, we want to change the font color. We might do that to the text. Foreground color. Now you can see I got a little helper. I like using that and just hitting enter. Foreground color is giving us a placeholder to fill in. It once was called a color, and its type, thankfully, is also called a color. But you can see the capital C for type. Okay, so the types are going to be in capitals, whereas lowercase are the name of things. So I'm going to give it exactly what it wants. Color, the object, the type, dot. And you can see I've got all these different colors to choose from. Down here again, dot foreground color, dot foreground color, so that's the basics of stacks. Now, based on your designs, you can then rearrange this screen to be a desktop clock.